In 1945, a doctor walked into an orphanage and found something that made no sense. The babies were clean. They were fed, they had shelter, warmth, and medical care. By every measurable standard, they should have been fine. They were dying. Not from disease, not from hunger, from nothing that showed up on any chart. They were simply fading, losing weight, refusing to eat, going quiet, and then, one by one, stopping. The doctor's name was René Spitz, and what he discovered in that orphanage would eventually change how science understands human survival. He called it hospitalism. We now call it touch deprivation, and it revealed something that most people still haven't fully accepted. Connection is not a comfort. It is a biological need, as real as food, as urgent as air.
But why? Why would a social feeling have the power to kill? To answer that, you have to go back, a long way back. 2 million years ago, a lone human on the African savanna was a dead human. There was no surviving alone, no hunting alone, no defending against predators alone. The group was not optional. The group was the only reason any individual made it to morning. Your nervous system learned this, not in your lifetime. Over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, the human brain developed a biological alarm system for social disconnection. When you feel isolated, your body doesn't register it as an emotion. It registers it as a threat. Psychologist John Cacioppo spent over 20 years studying loneliness at the University of Chicago. What he found was not subtle. Lonely people have higher cortisol levels, higher blood pressure, weaker immune responses. They sleep worse. They heal slower. Their inflammatory markers look like someone fighting a chronic infection. Loneliness doesn't just feel like danger. To your body, it is danger.
So, what exactly is happening inside you when you feel alone? In 2013, Cacioppo and his team published research showing that the brains of lonely people enter a state of hypervigilance. The threat detection system, the same one that fires when you see a predator, activates. You become more sensitive to social cues, more likely to interpret neutral faces as hostile, more likely to withdraw further to protect yourself. This is the loneliness trap. The more isolated you are, the more threatening the world appears. The more threatening the world appears, the more you pull away. The more you pull away, the more isolated you become. It is an ancient survival mechanism running in the wrong direction, designed to push you back toward the group. Instead, in the modern world, it often pushes people deeper into isolation, and the physical consequences accumulate quietly over years. A 2015 meta-analysis by Julianne Holt-Meisted at Brigham Young University analyzed data from over 3 million people across 70 studies. The conclusion was stark. Social isolation increases the risk of early death by 26%. Loneliness increases it by 29%. Living alone increases it by 32%. Those numbers place loneliness in the same risk category as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
How did this happen? How did a species wired for connection end up in a loneliness epidemic? The Industrial Revolution moved people off the land and into cities, but cities don't automatically mean community. They mean proximity without belonging. Millions of people, inches apart, completely alone. Then came the automobile, the suburb, the private home, the private bedroom, the private screen. In 1985, the average American reported having 3 close confidants. By 2004, that number had dropped to 2. By 2021, surveys were finding that nearly half of Americans reported having no close friends at all. The architecture of modern life was not designed for human biology. It was designed for productivity, for efficiency, for privacy, and the body is paying the price.
But here is something that almost nobody talks about. You can be surrounded by people and still be lonely. Cacioppo was careful to distinguish between objective isolation and perceived isolation. What matters to your nervous system is not how many people are in the room. It is whether you feel seen, understood, and connected to them. A person can have a partner, a family, a full social calendar, and still register in their nervous system as profoundly alone. And conversely, a single deep relationship, one person who truly knows you, can be biologically sufficient. The body is not measuring quantity, it is measuring quality. It is asking one question constantly, beneath the level of conscious thought. Am I safe here? Does anyone actually know I exist? René Spitz's babies were surrounded by nurses. They were touched during feeding and changing, but there was no consistent caregiver, no one who looked at them specifically, no one whose face lit up when they appeared. They were alone in a room full of people. What they needed was not presence, they needed to matter
matter to someone. And this is perhaps the most important thing Spitz's research revealed. Human beings do not just need contact, they need to be witnessed, to be known, to have their existence acknowledged by another consciousness that chooses to stay. This is not poetry, this is physiology.
In the last years of his life, John Cacioppo said something that has stayed with researchers since. He said loneliness is an aversive signal, like hunger, like thirst, like pain. It evolved to motivate behavior, to push the isolated individual back toward the group. The tragedy of modern loneliness is not the feeling itself. It is that we have built a world where there is often no group to return to. The feeling fires, and there is nowhere to go. We are the only species on Earth that can construct a civilization this vast, this connected by technology, this densely populated, and still feel entirely invisible inside it. And the body, ancient and unimpressed by the internet, keeps sending the same signal it has sent for 2 million years. Find your people or do not survive.